Hello, one and all, and welcome to another episode of Appropriate Productions, the high resolution, low brow, apolitically correct freedom of speech art company. In this episode, we change it up a little bit and have a conversation with a Venezuelan fellow living in Chile by the name of Angel. We talk a little bit about identity politics and how they become more pervasive as conflict grows. We talk a little bit about Chilean politics and the protests, and a touch about the difference between Venezuelan and Chilean beer. We hope you enjoy. Thanks for watching. Hey man, how's it going?
Hey, how's it going, James? Doing good. How about yourself?
Pretty well, thanks. Want to introduce
Excellent.
yourself?
Thanks. Well, my name is Angel, the
Okay.
most easily translated name. I'm from Venezuela, but I've been living in Chile since 2016, been
Nice.
4 years now.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
Wow, you kind of carry the protest spirit with you as you travel.
Yeah, I'm actually trying to think as a curse now. It's like
Yeah,
everywhere I go, disaster follows me.
I hear you.
I'm not responsible. I'm not responsible for the pandemic, though.
I see.
That's not
That's
on me.
good. Have you been
That's
to
not on me.
Portland lately? Because
Nah.
I don't know. All right,
I may have some context about
right on.
it.
So just to start off, I like getting into some of the cultural stuff. Can you think of stuff, something that you've noticed that's separate from living in Venezuela to Chile, or something that?
Okay. Yeah. Well, there's a lot of different things because even though people think that Latin America or South America we're all the same, and we just
That's
because
lunacy.
we speak the same language,
Yeah, yeah.
which we don't
No, I learned
anyway.
that in Chile. Chile speaks Chilean.
Uh,
Yeah,
totally. Just because like that, if people like categorize it as just party people
yeah,
and food and spicy,
yeah, 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 yeah.
that's not the whole picture.
No,
There are a lot of differences. I do think that there's a huge influence in the weather and the how people are, you know, welcoming or not, or
yeah,
they can be, warm people. Um, Say, for example, I don't know, people from my country that live on the shore, on the beach in front of the Caribbean, they're the happiest people that I know. They have no worries whatsoever, and
on the
they
beach.
just,
Yeah,
I mean, they live on the beach. So that influences a lot on the way of living and the way of thinking.
yeah.
Um, and over here, like in the mountains, and people that have different seasons and all that, they have, I don't know, maybe this sense of adaptability because
Yeah,
people change, things change, seasons change, so they see life differently. Uh, but I have like no complaints on Chilean people actually. But one of the like insane differences is the alcohol part. Our beer and their beer, it's totally different.
so who, ours and theirs, you mean Venezuelan from Chilean? Yeah,
Exactly. So, and this has to do with the same reason, like whether you in the Caribbean, you won't find, I don't know, a buck or a red ale or
yeah, yeah.
something with a strong flavor. You just need water. You just need to
That's right.
fight back the humidity that can be 100%
Oh,
sometimes.
it's so there's a lot of like Corona kind of stuff or that kind of beer.
Exactly,
Yeah,
something
yeah,
like that. So a lager, something very, very watery. Whereas over here, because of the German influence, you can see very, very good beer,
yeah.
and it's insanely different. I mean, over back in Venezuela, we used to party with I don't know how to explain that in English. There's like boxes, like where trucks transport the bottles of beer,
Yeah, okay. Yeah, yeah,
like
yeah.
like, but and they come like in 30 packs.
The 30
There's like
packs is
30
crazy.
30 bottles
Yeah,
of
yeah,
beer because they're like water,
yeah.
nothing. And in a I don't know, maybe in a wedding or in a very big birthday, it could be, I don't know, maybe 20, 30 of those boxes.
Oh, that's lunacy. That's crazy.
But imagine 900 people
Yeah, yeah.
among, I don't know, a family of 20,
Wow.
more or less. And over here, you find, I don't know, maybe 2 6 packs of IPAs,
Yeah,
IPAs, and you're done.
yeah,
You're done. I
yeah.
mean, goodbye. Um, the liquor, like the distilled alcohol, we have a lot of rum over there in Venezuela.
Okay, yeah,
There is they a hell of a rum, and it's good. It's kind of like you can make it, you can mix it and stuff. But over here, it's from the grape. It's like way sweeter or
yeah.
maybe way more intense in a
Is that where
way.
pisco sour comes from?
Exactly. The
That stuff,
pisco.
that was like fighting Mike Tyson. That was some serious business.
It is, and it's deceiving. It's
Yeah,
deceiving. You really like the taste of it, and it's like, hey, but I can get used to it. And you start drinking it and drinking it and drinking it, but when you get off that chair
that's
and you have to
right.
stand up, that's a whole different story.
It sneaks up on
A
you.
whole different thing. So yeah, totally. In another way, maybe food over here they have. Well, obviously I'm living in the capital. I'm living in Santiago, so there are a lot of influences of a lot of different things, and the way of living is different.
Yeah,
So you'll find a lot of fast food places or a lot of like to go, not exactly like junk food, but
yeah,
things that are already made in the supermarket, like salads, like cold pasta, like this 3 minute ravioli, three
yeah,
minute
yeah,
type
yeah,
of thing. It's like, come on, it's not that healthy. But I think that depends a lot on the way of living. In, for example, me growing up, I always saw my mom coming back from work for a small period of 2 hours, maybe, so she could have lunch at home
oh yeah,
with the family and stuff.
yeah,
I'm
yeah,
not saying that that is something unique from Venezuela, but that is something that over here, for example, in my case, I haven't been able
yeah, yeah, yeah.
to. So it's a whole different thing.
I remember
Something that,
something that
go
came up a
ahead.
lot when I was at the hostel there in Santiago was a lot of people were really shocked in the first few days. There's so many bakeries. Like every block had like two bakeries. It was like across the street from each other, you know?
Exactly. And
Yeah,
they
yeah,
sell insane. It's not that one of them is like the most famous one.
yeah,
Or there's the bakery chain that's kind of like, I don't know, a colossus of bread. It's
yeah.
just like every single corner is filled with people ordering, I don't know, a muffin and a
That's right.
coffee, and
Yeah,
that's it.
yeah, yeah,
Goodbye. So it is a very, very different thing over here. But at the end, it's like, you know, adapting. There are so many things that you have to understand from the country uh, that you just have to accept and deal with.
yeah,
You know,
yeah, yeah.
it is it's just a place that I decided to move into, and I just have to make do.
Right on. So
Yep.
tell me a bit about Chile and, if you can, a bit of the protest, where it's coming from, and 2020. So like, just to give it a quick ramp up or explanation, when I got there, I think the protest started around October something,
Mm-hmm.
20th or something like that.
18.
Okay, yeah, yeah, 18th. And I got there for December. It was a Friday the 13th. I thought it was a good day to go check out a
Yeah.
protest.
Yeah. Obviously.
And
Your whole backstory
I'd missed
can
the
support that
the really
intense part.
the
In December. It was already like
yeah,
it wasn't normalized, but it was like people adapted to it.
So I
Like
saw,
they were burning some things. Okay, just
yeah,
drive by. That's it.
yeah, yeah. It seemed playful. So the police would shoot up flares into the sky,
Hmm.
and then some of the protesters would match it with fireworks, and they just kind of like be, it was like a
Yeah,
composition.
like a dance
Yeah,
of something of fire.
yeah. There was a guy
Um.
there with his daughter. She was like 6 years old on his shoulders, and he was singing a protest song, teaching his daughter.
Okay.
It 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 wasn't at all in Canada. We're told don't visit Chile at all because it's so dangerous. And this guy with his daughter is disproving all of our.
Yeah. Obviously, I mean it's a different thing because from like from the touristic point of view, it is very risky to visit a place that is going through a lot of changes. But we also like working in tourism. We also saw and realized that that is also like currently in probably like the second the second half of this decade, the a lot of people are interested in like historical movement and
Yeah,
like things changing so fast and like being an eyewitness of it.
yeah,
So even though a lot of insurance companies and traveling companies were saying like don't like take care, take refuge, a lot of people were still traveling like okay, so what is this?
yeah,
Are the news saying the truth, or is there something else I have to know about, or I can get the truth from? So I'm not completely sure about the origins and the whole background of this protest, but I know for sure that the way that it started was with the students. Um,
with
they
with the what? Sorry,
the students
the students and
like
the yeah,
yeah students like minors. They started protesting in the subway because within 2019 there were two races of the fee of the subway,
yeah,
and taking into consideration that Chilean subway is one of the most expensive in Latin America. To give an example, each trip it is a little bit more than $1 than a US dollar each trip.
yeah,
So each time that you pay to get on, and on a bus is the same thing and stuff like that. And it's not a top-notch service. Okay, so maybe
the
we can compare with other subway or public transportation systems. It's not a fair according to price only.
the wealth
With
difference is important too because in Canada we pay about $4 in Ottawa
okay,
where I'm from, but the earning power is so much different. So that for me, the $4 isn't as significant as the dollar is for someone living in Santiago.
exactly. And
Yeah,
the thing is like yes, it may not be that much. You may not do a lot with $1, but for a company, because that is another thing that the subway system is maintained by the government, but it is owned
that's
by a
right. Yeah,
private company. So for a company to just decide to raise twice in a year and not be able to show some improvements, some notorious improvements for that raise, it is just, I mean, blatant lies.
yeah.
It's
I
a
remember hearing
huge,
also that. Sorry, I remember hearing also there was a particular line about how one of the politicians from Chile. There was a lot of
mhm,
pressure, and a journalist was saying like, "How do you justify the raise?" And he said, "I guess there's a tiered system, so it costs a little bit less if you can catch the subway before a certain time in the morning."
mhm,
And he said if there's a problem, they could just leave before 5 o'clock in the morning. And it was so flippant. It was like Marie Antoinette's "let them have cake." Like, oh, their issues are irrelevant. Let them just sort it out themselves. And it was the
exactly.
flippant nature of like the collusion between the company and the government guys like whatever.
Exactly. And then they let the company to do whatever the hell they want because
Yeah,
they have their back.
yeah,
So
yeah,
it's like, okay, so who's on our side? You know? And um,
yeah,
the students then started skipping the the controls. They started getting on the subway without paying.
Okay.
And when they got, I don't know, stopped by the guards or whatever, they started like protesting with them or maybe breaking the whole tourniquet
Oh,
as
shit.
well. Yeah, it was insane. And from that, they started to gather some other people as well. There was a teacher from one of those students that he got into the fight or into the protest, and he ended up in jail actually
Oh, wow.
for a
Okay.
very long time just for breaking one tourniquet. And I'm not saying that it's an insignificant thing,
Yeah.
but there are some other cases of, rape, murder, corruption that they just end up with, this parole option, or they have this. But just because he just rebelled up, he just stood up to be in support of the students, he got jail for some months actually.
Oh, wow.
And it was like a very ugly jail, as I heard over there.
It pissed people
And
off.
then the what?
It pissed people off.
Exactly. And
Yeah.
then with the students, they started. I mean, people started to realize like how unfair some private companies were still being. Like, there's this pension. How do you call that? It's kind of like a regulator of the pension for people.
Okay.
By law, you get discounted some of your payments,
Mhm.
and it's like you're forced to save for your pension, for
Okay.
your retirement.
Yeah.
And that's great. But then there were some like small letters on the contract and some articles in the law hidden over there that said, for example, that if you retire at the end of 60, your life expectancy will be rounded up at 90 something or maybe 100 years.
Okay.
And the amount of money that you have saved will be divided by the amount of months from your retirement date
Yeah.
until the life expectancy. So imagine, I don't know, how much in months are 30 years.
Yeah.
And if you
Oh.
got
Oh, so they take the whole amount and then divide it by, oh my God. So if it's like $3, that's what it is.
something like that. So if the minimum wage over here is around 500, no, a little less. A little less than 500 US dollars, some people's pension or retirement plan was even half of it
Per month.
per month.
500.
And we're talking about,
Yeah, yeah.
we're talking about old people
Yeah.
that
Yeah,
if
yeah.
you don't earn minimum wage, it's not that you can do some other thing
Yeah.
to earn more money.
Yeah. No, it was.
And it's not fair. I mean, they still have to pay for medicines and they work their asses off
Yeah.
to have some dignity at the end of their life. And this is their money. At the
Yeah.
end, you're not giving them charity or anything. It's just their money.
Yeah, yeah.
And the cherry on the cake. If your life expectancy say it's 100 years, for example, but you die at the end of 70, that money that you still have left can't be inherited.
Yeah.
Your kids can use it, your family can use it. It will
So
be for the house. The
that's
house
not
always wins.
that's not a pension plan. That's a government's piggy bank. That's you're putting money into their piggy bank and they're taking it out and they're cutting it and trimming it and finding ways to yeah.
Exactly. So, and they try to convince you because they use this money to invest or move it in stocks or
Yeah,
anything.
yeah, 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 yeah. Yeah, we do the same thing, the same game.
But if there is any loss in your money, the loss is on you.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. So banking
So it's
errors only ever go in one direction, you know? Yeah.
exact.
If you
So
make a
it's
mistake,
like,
you owe the bank. If the bank makes a mistake, that's that's
I'm
life.
sorry.
Yeah, that's right.
Exactly. It's like, mm, that's too bad.
Yeah,
I
yeah.
mean,
Have a
okay,
nice day.
so
Yeah,
thank you for coming. Um, and like that, there are a lot of different things like the health service. It is good only for the ones that can pay it. Um, education is not free. I don't think that at any level, if I'm not
yeah,
mistaken. Or the most important thing is like the university one, they're incredibly expensive. Um, there is this government loan that they can give to students, but it's something that after you graduate, you keep paying and paying and paying. So, it is totally unfair. So there was like this little snowball that started rolling down the hill, and it grew and it grew and it grew and it grew and it grew.
yeah,
And then on October 18th of 2019, they said, you know what? We're a majority. We are taking the whole thing. We either change the constitution because that was a whole different thing. It turns out that there were a lot of movements, political movements, even from the Senate, you can say yes, to change a lot of those laws, a lot of like the retirement plan, the health service, the education, stuff like that. And
yeah.
they were all overruled. They were all ignored or discarded because they were inconstitutional.
Sure. Yeah,
So what would be the most logical solution? Let's change the constitution, which was the one imposed by the dictatorship of Augusto Pinochet.
yeah. That
So it's
was
something.
among the ugliest periods and regions in the last, I'd say, 150 years. That
Okay.
era was pretty ugly.
So I mean, something. I think my girlfriend gave a great analogy. It's like imagine you have the worst relationship of your life, and right after you break up with your ex, you literally want to burn everything down, and you don't want to know anything about that person anymore.
Yeah, yeah.
I mean, this was a guy that he beat you. He hid he
Well,
hid you from your family and your friends.
technically, this guy went out and kidnapped your cousins and hid them. Oh my God,
Exactly.
it's a
He,
bad dude.
he
It's a bad
tortured
dude.
you, and still you're gonna live by his rules after you
Yeah,
break up with him
that's right.
for 30 years. It's like, come on, there has to be something wrong with you.
I
There
I came
has to
across.
be.
So I was only in Santiago for a little bit. I think just a few weeks, but there were a bunch of points where I saw myself the the very extreme liberal use of tear gas. I'd just be going for a jog in the afternoon and just what has happened? Like you wouldn't suspect that like at night when there's a protest happening and there's throngs of people, that's an environment for tear gassing. But if you're having lunch with a
Just a
friend or
day,
something, it's just
exactly.
this,
Just a day in the park, and then you're just like, oh, the
yeah,
tear gas again. Come on, man.
yeah, yeah. And the stories I heard from people at the hostel about you just couldn't get the policers to do anything in a police manner sort of thing, you know? An intersection crashed and they need a police to help work out traffic and the cop just drives by, he doesn't see an opportunity and just keeps going kind of thing. And
So
that was
and
written
that's
into the Constitution, right? The way the police work, or they're kind of like military police.
yeah, but no. I mean, the thing is like, um, the police force was something. I mean, in the Constitution, they gave a lot of power to and a lot of importance.
Yeah,
For example, I recently learned that by the time you pass I think it's the second year of high school. No, like I don't know if in Canada it's the same thing, but like the 8th year of middle school,
Okay.
not even
Yeah.
high school.
Yeah.
You don't need to graduate from middle school to be a police officer.
Oh yeah, no, that we definitely have that. So that's crazy.
And the retirement plan from those people, it is only 20 years of service, 25 years of service,
So
something like that.
yes, I don't remember that, but that was something that blew my mind was hearing about the salaries of the caballeros and the amount of hours they had to work or years or month or whatever to get the pension plan. It was
Mm-hmm.
you had to be a doctor to outcompete a police officer.
And a very, very well paid and exclusive doctor. It's not like any
Yeah,
med student.
that's really messed up. That's really
Exactly.
messed
So
up.
it's like, what would be the most gullible mind to
Yeah,
influence?
yeah,
Let's see. Let's take teenagers. Why not? So if you teach them that whatever is against the rules or against the law, you can beat the crap out of it,
yeah,
and no one can touch you because you're the force of law, then imagine what can do that to the mind.
yeah, yeah. If you can uh, make that look like a white knight act, that's
Hmm,
something that the heroes do is beat up grandmothers because they're jaywalking. The
exactly,
the judgment, like how do you make sense of the world around you? Yeah, yeah,
exactly. So and with as I said, it was a snowball because yes, everyone has a right to protest. Everyone should have the ability to speak up to the problems that occur and everything. And yeah, maybe they started breaking down things because they were tired and they were like fed up with a lot of things.
dude. So that looked like the purge when I was in Santiago. All of the shops had giant, thick metal garage doors, and you could peek through a window to shop. Like I think I had like one of the in the back. You couldn't touch it yourself. Yeah,
Totally.
that's
But
that
at the same
off.
time, you went by the the center of the whole protest, and people were like, "Hey, how's it going?" Or,
Yeah,
"Hey, you know what? I need to go. I need to go through." Sure, why not? Go ahead.
I
Or
I've never felt more
so
welcome anywhere traveling than at the protests in
so
Chile.
it's like, okay, are these really the bad guys? Are these really the guys that people should not listen to?
Yeah, yeah,
And then you see the whole tear gas movement and the whole like cops coming with the whole shields and
yeah,
stuff,
yeah.
and they have just like pieces of wood and pieces of rock to
Well,
throw.
they were also stripping up entire sidewalks with hammers so they could slingshot the stuff at the officers. I mean, there was a lot of creativity going on there too.
So it makes you wonder if they didn't break up things just to fight back the cops.
Yeah,
So it's like, are they doing it for hate? Maybe not. Maybe they're just finding things to fight back the whole tear gas and the whole
it,
protection that the cops have.
it doesn't have to be one or the other. They could be doing damage to the city and harming cops at the same time. It might
Exactly.
be, yeah,
So I'm not saying that it's a good or a bad thing what they did, but I think it was more of hey, let's take another look. Let's take a different point of view
yeah,
because there's something I don't know. There's something that people see and immediately they want to judge.
mhm,
People see something odd and it's like, okay, well that's not natural. It's like, okay, chill, because first, no one's asking for your opinion, and second, it may be a little bit more complex than you think.
yeah,
So, and that is something that is insane because right now, being an immigrant and having this whole backstory of my home country, um, you get together with your own people, with people from Venezuela as well, and you see a lot of different radical opinions that are
oh
like,
really?
well, yeah, they just want communism. They want to break everything up, and they have everything free. And then it's like, you really think what they're, you really know what they're asking for, and that's why I didn't actually have a sense. Obviously, at the beginning, I didn't like my job to be affected. I didn't like my personal life and my daily
Yeah,
life to be
yeah, yeah.
affected by the protests and stuff. But at the same time, it was like, where is this coming from? So it was about asking people and researching a little history and
Oh, people hate
you
that.
know, so it's like,
Yeah.
no, I mean, obviously, did you read it? No, I don't have time for that.
I just have an
But they're
intuitive
wrong.
understanding. I just understand things. Yeah.
Exactly. It's like, I just skimmed read it, and that's enough.
I got a
I
Twitter account.
mean,
That's all I need. Yeah. Yeah, yeah.
totally,
Yeah.
totally. On Twitter, they say it's wrong. I have to say it.
That's right. I
I
hashtag.
mean, and so there were a lot of people that they said, I was like, well, why don't they go to Venezuela and leave the true communism over there?
Sure.
And I was like,
To
oh, okay.
disagree with Pinochet is to be a communist.
Exactly. It's like, oh,
There
okay.
is there's like the furthest extreme to the left and the furthest extreme to the right. And there's like got to be a Pacific Ocean of space in between, but you have to be one or the other.
But you have to be. I mean, people are starting. There are a lot of people like judging even Venezuelans for trying to understand what is going on and not denounce it immediately.
Sure. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
I mean, if you think it's good, if you think it's okay for them to protest and break everything up, and my favorite, that is not the way to protest.
Yeah, yeah. So this is interesting. I kind of I have a piece of agreement with that idea that so in from what I've seen a lot of the protests happening in the States, it's openly violent. And some of them are calling for looting to make up the difference for how hard things are. At one point, they went to I don't know if you've heard of a Ronald McDonald House.
No.
So McDonald does a charity. McDonald's, the restaurant, does a charity where they're called Ronald McDonald's houses, and they set up really low income rent next to a
Mhm.
hospital for really sick kids so that their parents can stay with them nearby.
Mhm.
If there's like
Mhm.
a treatment center that's a state away or something and you can't afford to stay at a hotel, you can stay
Mhm.
at one of these places. And the protesters were protesting at this building, like, we're going to burn it down. And the news reaction was very gentle, but the public reaction was like, you can't threaten. This is like you're one step away from burning down orphanages to make a point. You're one
Yeah,
step
but
away.
it it's just because it represent or it had the signature of something that represented consumism and capitalism.
So it becomes linked up, and to protest against any form of making money is linked up with all of the worst things. It's worlds apart. So I do think that you should be able to protest without causing damage to somebody's personal property or threatening their personal health, you know?
The thing is, like, personal property is a whole different thing than just like streets and some thing.
Yeah,
You know, I
yeah,
mean, obviously they did affect a lot of people's jobs, for example.
yeah,
But and for example, there was this guy who posted the the morning after one big protest. There was some like street cleaners, the guys from
yeah.
the
Those are the
oh
biggest
my god,
heroes I've seen. The Santiago street cleaners.
yeah,
They put out
they're
giant street
insane,
fires within 2 hours. Huge fires that took up. You couldn't pass the street. It was just like a blazing inferno
insane.
in 2 hours, not even a mark on the street.
That's it. And but then you so this guy was having a point. It's like, well, and who pays extra for these damages to that person that has to clean up your whole mess? And
Yeah,
who is actually taking care of what these guys need? and I actually got, I don't know how, but I actually got like a relative of one of those guys, and they said, I mean, that person told me, like, well, my cousin is all in favor of that guy. He would rather clean the whole city of Santiago if he knew that there was some change coming up.
I see. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
So it's like, okay, maybe they get affected by their job. Maybe, I don't know, the company has to relocate them or pay some uh, compensation for, you know, something about that. But at the same time, it's like that is the people. It's not the company that is making that. The company has to look for a way to compensate you. But maybe you're watching history happen, and it did. I mean, the voting was not long ago for the change of the constitution,
Yeah.
and it got approved.
So you guys are
So
changing the Constitution.
exactly.
That's really cool.
So
How are you going to do it?
and
Is
it,
it going to be through representatives? Is
oh,
it going to be
it
through
was
people? Is it going to be?
it's going to be super crazy because up until I think December or January or something like that are the voting for the representatives of this council that is specific for that constitution. So it's
And you
going to
put
be 4 people.
four?
No. Like no, I'm sorry, by the people.
I see. I see. So
There
you could have
can be
students in there. You could have laborers, dentists. Just
they
I see.
actually one of the main uh, requirements is that people can be related to politics. They can uh, belong to
So, oh, interesting. So you cannot have a family member related who
nothing,
serves. That's interesting.
nothing.
Okay.
So I mean, to be as neutral as possible,
Yeah.
but at the same time, you cannot be active in a political party. You you could be related somehow, but you can't be active at the moment.
Okay. That's fair. Yeah. That's cool.
So yeah, it's a nice idea. But now a lot of politicians are quitting, are just resigning to a lot of things from the political parties for them to be elected as representatives.
Yeah. Yeah. Of course. Yeah. Yeah.
So
Yeah.
they're not active, but come on, just
Yeah.
a whole different skill. So it's going to be crazy. And from that, they have to sit down and discuss articles and like changes and stuff. And then there's going to be another plebiscite plebiscite. I don't know how to pronounce it actually. Um, to see if people agree with that constitution or not.
I see. Yeah. So the council's going to write it up themselves, sort of thing. They're going
Exactly.
to come up with a new. Do you do you think there's a chance? We were just talking before about the divisiveness of politics when the stakes are high and people are feeling a lot of pressure coming in. It's not acceptable that we work together and have different views. Like I don't see a problem with that,
Well,
but you know how sometimes so like in the States very much if I vote for Trump
yeah.
and you vote for Biden, there would be a huge problem between the two coworkers right there.
In Venezuela, it was the same thing. In Venezuela, one of the
No
most
kidding, eh?
radical things was that in some like public, uh, I don't know, like I wouldn't say like public jobs or anything, but like government related parts, say, I don't know, the place that you had to take your ID or your passport.
Okay.
That is like a government part of the thing. It was like
Yeah.
a public service, maybe. Um, they started to get a little bit more political. They started to get a little bit more on the side of like the official side, on the side of the government. And I don't have any proof actually, but a lot of people got, I don't know, fired or they were forced to go to demonstrations
If
because if they, I mean, they got fired if they didn't belong to the party or if they
yeah,
were
yeah,
active
yeah,
or they were forced to go to demonstrations in favor of the government. If not, they would lose their job. And it's, I mean, that is the tricky part when politics becomes something bigger than it is.
yeah,
If it,
certainly.
if it starts like devouring your personal life and your job and your family and
If
all
it's
that,
if it's changing
that's
your
where
relationship with your friends and your spouse, and
totally, totally. I mean, I do get that you have some ideals, and I do get that you see those ideas represented by some
yeah,
people. Say, I don't know, maybe you can think that health shouldn't be free for anyone, and education has to be filtered somehow.
yeah.
But
Do
I
you,
mean, like,
don't
and we
dismiss the
can and
personism.
we can
Yeah,
we
yeah,
can agree to disagree on that, okay? But don't talk about, I don't know, racism or homophobia or,
it's
I
so
mean, there's
it's gotten to the
some
point
like
where
slight limits.
the the slightest shift in view in anything. So a lot of people in North America are increasingly going towards. So in Canada, for instance, we're taking in something close to 10% of our population in immigration every year. That's a lot. It's a lot. That's in 10 years, we're going to double our population, and only half of that country would have been born
Anyway,
there. So, like,
okay.
finish the sentences with A and stuff. How you doing, eh? Like that's Canadian. But as if you flood immigration too high, you kind of slowly saturate the quality of whatever it is the region is. So increasingly, I'm all for. I love the idea of new people coming in and showing me new kinds of food and stuff. I love. I could go on forever. I love like shawarmas. There's so many different kinds of food I love to eat, and all of it comes from somebody who's traveled to this country and they want to set up a store. If they sell like their food, maybe they sell, you know, uh, the Chilean ceviche or whatever it is.
Mm-hmm.
But increasingly, the because of the political divide, you're either supposed to be for 100% immigration without any background checks. Just if you can make it across the boat, you should be able to set up anywhere and get free access and votes and healthcare, or nobody's allowed to come over whatsoever. And they're both ridiculous. It's like having no salt in your
Insane.
diet or only eating salt. Both cases, you die. Like you need something in between.
Totally. So that is the thing. I mean, yes, maybe we can disagree, or in this case, for example, in the constitution over here in Chile, they have to coexist because they exist in the same place. That is literally the meaning of
Yeah.
coexistence.
So do you think the council
So
might fall into that though? Like, do you think
I think so. I think so. There's a strong influence from the right wing of politics over here in Chile. Most of them are like from rich people and uh, uh, like people from enterprises and people that are like moved into the and they know about economical things or maybe rich families and stuff like
yeah,
that. And those are
yeah, yeah,
very well prepared people. So not only they belong to the right wing, they know what they're talking about. You
yeah?
know,
They're more
not all
influential.
the time, but
Yeah,
not all the time though. But most of them know their thing. You know, but at the same time, they do have to accept the labor guy that he works from Monday to Friday on a very humble, and he lives in the slumdogs, and he lives because he also exists in the same place
yeah,
as they do. And maybe they have a different reality than
yeah. Different needs.
that guy.
Yeah, yeah.
Exactly, different needs. And not only, let's not talk about needs, let's talk about point of view. Let's talk
Fair.
about,
That's totally fair. Yeah,
I mean, hear me out. Just hear me out. You don't need to take into consideration everything that I say because I may be wrong, but hear me out.
yeah,
And I think that that is one of the worst things that could have happened to Venezuela. That we were so divided that right now it was insane. A lot of artists don't have a political view, but at the same time they have to share with something political.
Yeah,
They
yeah,
have to share with the highest parts of society, or
yeah.
they have to go to. There is this insane, insanely like signature band of Venezuela. Some people hate it, some people love it, but everyone knows about it. And it's not even like traditional music or anything. It's just got part of a culture, and that's it. And they started and they decided to make a show, like a private show,
Okay.
for one guy of the government.
Oh, Jesus. Oh, Jesus.
Exactly. They were paid to be there. To
Yeah,
be
yeah,
there.
yeah,
They were. I mean, they literally went there to do their job.
yeah,
But just because it was related to the government,
yeah, yeah,
they got cancel culture all over them.
yeah, yeah. So all
It was
people
like,
who were
oh
opposing it.
my God, I'm disgusted. I'm never going to play their songs again. It's like,
Yeah, yeah.
oh, come on,
And so
you know?
I bet crazed fans of the bands were like dying on that hill. Like, no, you can't tell them where they can play. And so people who used to just get along are now fighting over this band playing for this guy.
Exactly. I mean, obviously,
Jesus.
there's a background because you can say, well, this guy, I mean, this government is completely, completely wrong. I mean, they started
Yeah.
killing people, and they just don't see the magnitude of how harmful they can be to their own country and their own people, while they're just living their best life and
They're
not caring about the other people.
spending public money
Okay,
for personal concerts.
exactly.
That's
So maybe
that's
maybe
insane.
this concert was paid with public people's
Yeah,
money,
yeah, 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 yeah,
But at the end, it's their job. Uh, at the end, it's their job. Can you blame them?
yeah. So I found
So,
out that the Jong-il family in North Korea,
mm,
they love North American entertainment. So they will go and they hire, Vince McMahon's wrestling company, WWE
mm,
or whatever.
mm, mm,
He
mm.
would hire the whole company to go and wrestle for him and his friends, fly them
Correct.
over there. He had miniature. I think he had Beyonce perform for him once. Like, yeah, yeah, yeah. Giant concerts, all of it used off of all paid for with the basically the wealth of the nation from a
I
people
mean,
who were told to live off of roots.
so that is the thing. Where's the line?
Yeah,
It's
yeah, yeah.
like, obviously it's a very extreme case because the other guy in North Korea, he's lunatic and whatever.
Yeah.
But mm, come on, you know,
So it
it's
seems like
it's complex, just
communism
different things.
loves capitalism, but just for a very small minority
Obviously,
of communists.
obviously, obviously.
Yeah.
Communist. I mean, and that was one of the huge criticisms for the for Chavez, the
Yeah,
the president that threw us all into this mayhem. That he always talks about people and the people and for the people by the people, and we're all a labor company and we're all
yeah, yeah,
from the same background. And his suits were always top notch. He always wore, and he was always traveling in the biggest luxury. And his children were never suffering from anything. I think
yeah,
one
yeah.
of them, like the oldest daughter, is living in New York and in a
Jesus.
very very luxurious thing.
Yeah,
So it's like, what?
yeah. So
Doesn't make.
they love to spend money, just not their money.
Oh
It's
yeah, for sure.
yeah.
Oh yeah,
Communists love the
that
money.
is that is the whole thing. So it is how can I say it? I mean, it's so complex to find something that is totally right, something that is
Yeah, you mean like a government
totally
type? Yeah, yeah, totally.
exactly according to politics. That is, can you really fight the system? Can you really go against it?
I think we're a boat, and depending on the waves, we need different types. You know?
So, and can you really make sure that, for example, there are a lot of people that are surviving in Venezuela, and to they have to work charging in U.S. dollars.
Yeah,
Now there's like a different currency and all that. It's crazy, it's mayhem. Um, there is no way for sure to know that those dollars that are in your hand are not government related laundry money
sure.
or
Yeah, yeah,
maybe.
yeah, yeah,
And what are you gonna do? Are you really gonna starve? Are you
yeah,
really gonna not buy what you need just because that money is not? So
yeah,
who's to say?
yeah,
You know,
yeah.
are you that morally correct that you won't accept that and just accept your fate as your? I think that's too radical for someone to even consider.
Oh, that would quite, especially if you have other people you're feeding. Like it's if it's one thing for me to make the decision, but if I got kids to feed, it's not a decision. You know?
It's not a decision. It's
Yeah,
not
yeah,
up to even consideration. It's like, so where is the line? You know? And something like that, I mean, we can talk for hours and hours about examples like that. It's like, yes, maybe, hear me out. What about this crazy idea? You can live in the same country of the bad guys.
yeah, yeah.
Because
So
let's be honest. Are you gonna change the bad guys? Are you really gonna tell them, yeah, you rich guy, just get off that and be poor like
so
the rest of us?
so in North America right now, there are some people talking about uh, Trump voter re-education camps that that's serious. That they've been tricked, they've been lied to, and they need to be retrained to become human again, kind of thing. Like
Maybe
it's a really
maybe that could be it. It's not that wrong because what I'm trying to do is teach you other ways, like make you see a bigger picture.
sure. Yeah,
I'm
yeah.
not forcing you to do anything. I'm just
Well,
making you
a re-education camp is usually pretty forced. It's there's volunteer and there's voluntold, and
exactly.
yeah,
That is another thing. I mean, the way of execution is on a whole different thing, but the
yeah.
idea is not that bad.
Execution might have been the right word there too. Uh, well, I gotta ask. Well, we gotta cut this off pretty soon. The
Okay.
we got an early morning tomorrow. My first day of work and everything, right? But
Yeah,
I have to
you
ask,
and me both.
with your experience in Venezuela and Chile with this extreme divisive politics going on, do you have any? I mean, this is a crappy question, but do you have a secret? Do you have an answer? How do you stop it?
I I think I think just maybe read not the headlines of articles and or
Yeah,
Twitter
yeah.
all
Don't touch
along.
Twitter if you want to understand things. Yeah,
No, do touch Twitter, but filter it.
yeah.
Filter it.
I
Do
meant
not
like Wikipedia. Like start there, you know, but don't
exactly.
you want to. My favorite source is books, so I try to find a good author, and I'll.
Or maybe okay, like let's go behind it. Is this writer someone that wrote something important, or is it that doesn't have to be about the same topic,
Yeah,
but maybe he has some nice thoughts on another part, so maybe we can listen to it, to his or her, and to what they have to say. You know,
yeah. So how do we get?
it's
Yeah,
something
gotta get used to seeing uncomfortable positions again.
total.
Yeah,
And take into consideration that it's like, am I the only picture? Am I the only example, or maybe there is someone else that is worse than I am or better than I am, and what are their backgrounds? Because
Yeah.
say, for example, like that example of a guy cleaning the street. I mean, maybe he can have a very hard time cleaning up all the mess that they're doing in the with the protest. But if he's happy about it, so be it.
Yeah, that made me wonder. Actually, you told me that. It made me question if maybe the Santiago cleaning guys are actually tricking the students into protesting, because this way they're never
So
going to
they
have
can,
business. You know what I mean?
so they can, so they can just keep having their job stable.
Forever.
Who
Yeah.
knows?
Yeah, they locked in
Exactly.
job security. Yeah.
Yeah. So who knows? You know, maybe what you consider is good is not that entirely good. What you consider bad is not entirely bad.
Oh yeah,
It's just
without question. Yeah.
so it's just wonder. I think that's my secret. My secret, wonder.
To wonder?
What if?
Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah. I like it. Yeah.
because to find, imagine how boring it would be if everything would be just the way you think.
Yeah. It would be immediately comforting, but boring
Exactly.
as hell. Yeah.
But then there's nothing to so start wonder. Start wonder in that case.
I like it,
I
man.
don't think there's another word I can describe a little bit better. Maybe write that down. Hear me out.
Nice.
So
Walk
thanks
up
a
aisle.
lot for this conversation, James. It was very, very nice.
Yeah, likewise, man. Thanks for taking the time out. I'm gonna stop recording here. Do you want to keep talking for a few minutes after?
No, I'm actually insanely hungry.
All right, deal.
So
All right, we'll cut it as soon as I stop recording. All right,
sure,
man. Awesome.
sure.
Thanks again, eh? We'll talk to you soon.
You too. We'll keep texting.
You bet. Later, man.
See ya.